Hello! Today I'm joined by another lovely VTuber. Not necessarily as much for a, I guess, discussion analysis video, but hi May.
Was
Where's that?
excited to be here.
Yeah. Today I thought I'd put May through the perils of me trying to help you with army list building. Because I ran into your stream like, I guess before you blew up a bit? How far? I don't know how long ago it was now. It's probably like a month or two ago, right?
Well, I watched my first Warhammer video on January 1st, and I would say things got well and truly going round about 2 weeks after that. So that was when I received my uh, I was gifted an Indomitus box set along with about 60 to 70 Citadel paint pots
Oh my lord.
from one of my IRL friends because he
Oh.
has cats and carpet. And so he got rid of all of his Citadel paints through me, who has no cats and no carpet. And I think now is when I like started really, really diving in. But also like my Horus Rising review came out as well. People started interacting with that quite a lot. I've been really enjoying the books, and now I've already played my first game of 40K. I have been called many things. She Who Thirsts, someone who is speedrunning the hobby, someone who is just attempting to do everything they possibly can with it, which is true, which is true. I tend to dive headfirst into things. So I've been having a good time with it.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I guess I'm also kind of speedrunning collabs at the moment. So I've just collaborated with like 6 or 7 different YouTubers. So welcome to the club. So tell me about this list that you've got to show here, where we're starting with.
Yeah, so this is Fulgrim Walks His Dogs. That is what the list is called. It is, I would, I believe it's my third list. It is my first 2K list. Before this, I built my very first list is called May Doesn't Know What She's Doing, and it is a 1,000 point Emperor's Children list. I am really into the Emperor's Children. I really enjoyed playing them. I think I don't know if they're like meta savvy or whatever, but I enjoy their 30k colors, and I really like Fulgrim as a Primarch. I love Slanesh as a Chaos God. There's a lot of like really cool, interesting stuff going on there that I saw, I think, immediately upon hearing about Slanesh. I like paused the video that we were watching to point out how important I thought perfection was in the list of traits that Bricky was giving, and I did not know at the time how important that was in the lore. But I was like, "Oh, you can't have excess without perfection." And I saw it immediately, and I was like, "I'm already in love with how they're portraying this idea of like kind of a scarier Dionysus."
Hmm.
Um,
That's actually a really good
and
way to
so
describe it,
I've
isn't it?
yeah, and so I've been very into it. I think Dionysus is one of my favorite Greek gods as well. So just that idea of excess is really cool. And then of course I've gotten to meet Lucius in the books, and so he's in this list as well. The first one is just Fulgrim, Lucius, 6 Flawless Blades, and 12 Noise Marines. Very simple, very straightforward. Just used against. I fought a Tyrannid army that had something like 121 models. Um, with it, and it was very interesting, very fun. I learned why you put flawless blades in 6 person detachments instead of 3. Um, I feel like I started to learn a bit about it. And
Hmm.
then when I was kind of learning to list build, we just kind of read through a bunch of stuff with Chaos Space Marines. I don't even know how much we went into this. But this one, I don't even know if it's like a full list. So I've been playing around with it. Um, on top of my 2K EC list, I've also made a list I call my Blueberry Murder Boys, which is what I call most Astartes. And I do, I just realized I do have a tendency to call them Astartes instead of Space Marines because I'm so entrenched in 30K right now. So I'm sorry to anyone who's like, wow, she's using the copyrighted name.
I mean, it's not wrong.
It's not wrong, but I know that some people are like, whoa, buddy.
It's like when someone refers to Imperial Guard as Astra Militarum and people get annoyed.
I mean, like, I don't think anyone will get annoyed, but just as a heads up, that's why I call them Astartes is because they're referred to as Astartes in the books quite a lot, and I'm currently reading through Flight of the Eisenstein, so, um, I've that is just, like, what they are in my head. So this one, uh, the Blueberry Murder Boys is missing about 25 points, which I think would go to, enhancements that I just haven't figured out yet. But this one's pretty straightforward as well. I always try to build around, 1 to 2 epic heroes just because I like those models, and for me, building a list is about what do I wanna paint.
Hmm.
And so I already have so most of this list too is built around the models that I already have. So Blade Guard Ancient, Captain, Chaplain, Justiciar, Lieutenant, along with a few other things like the Eradicator Squad, the Outrider Squad. Those are from the Indomitus box set.
Yeah.
I also already have a Captain Titus. Well, I have a Lieutenant Titus, I believe. But I I have been working off the assumption that if someone at my local game store were to be like, actually that's a Lieutenant Titus, then I just shouldn't play with them.
No, yeah, you're
As
completely
long as I
right.
declare that he's a captain, you know?
I think,
So
generally speaking, as long as it's not something you can confuse with like another model in your army, and it's the right base size, no one that you should want to play with is going to care.
great, great. That's what I was hoping for.
Because genuinely,
So
because I've been to like some local events, and like there's times where people bring like entire like 3D printed armies that vaguely look like the thing they're playing them as, and so long as they're about the right size, no one really cares.
yeah. Um So this one is kind of built around dreadnoughts. I did add in the repulsor executioner instead of originally we had I think like some land raiders or something. But I was convinced to do the repulsor executioner by Luton, who I think just really likes how it looks, and I'm all for that.
It's a
So
cool tank.
um, it's a cool tank. I saw the model, I was like, "I'd paint that." So, I'm actually pretty easily convinced if you wanna change my mind about a list, just tell me the model looks cooler than what I have right now, and I'll probably agree.
You're like I'm
Um,
in.
One of the things I would like to do is build kind of a dreadnought heavy army one day. Right now, I'm planning on painting Rylanor, who is I'm crying thinking about him. I I love dreadnoughts. They are the senior dogs of the Warhammer 40K universe. I look at them and I want to sob. So I want dreadnoughts in all of my armies. I love them. Um, where I can get them, they're going to be in there. So we have a Ballistus dreadnought and a Redemptor dreadnought here too. I did try very hard to squeeze in the ATV, but it it didn't have enough
the,
points for
the
it,
little
sadly.
buggy.
I know, I
It's so
think having,
cute.
like, one good goofy model is really important.
Oh yeah.
Like, having a goofy model is a treat.
I mean,
So,
if I were to describe some of my army lists I've built previously, I think every time I build an AdMech list, I'm always very tempted to put the little stilt guy in. And have you seen Sidonian Scatteros before?
I don't think so,
Oh,
no.
I'll send you a picture later. He's hilarious. He's just a little
Okay.
guy with a sniper rifle who's on stilts that are like 2 times his height.
I love that, I love that.
He's just a goober.
But to show off the list that we started with, sorry,
It's fine.
I wanted to explain kind of how we got here. So this is my 4th list I've ever made in my life. Um, so please judge accordingly. But this again has Fulgrim, Lucius the Eternal, the Demon Prince of Slanesh with wings. This is built off of 2 boxes. So I have the battle. What is it called? Hold on. I have the battle box, whatever, called the Blissbound Warband.
Yeah.
Um, and that comes with, I believe, 6 Noise Marines, 6 Flawless Blades, and Fulgrim. Yeah, it's 13 models. And then they just came out with the new Lords of Excess box that I'm getting as well, which has like 10 Tormentors, some more Noise Marines, maybe. It's got a bunch of stuff in it. This box is or this list is built partially based on the fact that I will have both of those boxes. So I really want to make sure that if I'm building a list, I utilize boxes that I'm going to get. People have been very sweet and gifted me boxes. So if they do, my best hope is to try to use those when building lists. whether I play them in real life or not. This is the army I am most likely to take to my LGS and actually play. So, yeah. But anyway, so Demon Princess Lanesh with wings, Lord Cacophonist, 5 Tormentors. I'm open to more Tormentors. I am. I really am. Right now, 5 seems like a perfectly fine number. I was told I might change my mind on that. I might. I don't know. Then, of course, my 6 Flawless Blades, now in an actual unit of 6. Um, 18 Noise Marines. I know that may seem excessive, but I do love my Noise Marines.
Actually,
So
you'll be quite happy to hear that from like a competitive point of view. Almost all lists actually take at least 2 squads of Noise Marines.
incredible,
They
incredible.
are very
And
good.
then here's our kicker for this one. There are 3 Mauler Fiends in this list. These are the dogs that Fulgrim is walking.
Hmm.
Um, and I am required in play to make sure that the Mauler Fiends are flanking Fulgrim at all times. Um, I know that that may be impossible due to terrain, but I'm just going to invent new rules where I can smash down terrain. So, this is as much a meme list as it is me attempting to build a real list,
I mean, that's
which
fine.
I think is par for the course when it comes to me doing things involving Warhammer on stream. And then of course we have a very sensible, very normal Chaos Rhino down at the bottom for my Noise Marines.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this is my beautiful list. Fulgrim walks his dog, um, and I'm quite happy with it. But I'm open to suggestions from you if you want to talk about maybe if you want to talk about this list. Will I change anything? I've got no idea. If we want to build another list, I'm open to that as well. I've heard that Nurgle demons are the girlfriend faction to get into, and I'd love to be someone's girlfriend one day. So I would be down to get into Nurgle demons. I mean, like really anything. I'd love to learn how we think about building a list, kind of the basis for it, etc. So I'm gonna let you do some yapping on that if you'd like.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess before I do that, I guess what I would ask is, what was your experience? You played one of these lists? You said.
Yeah, so I actually I got to play the May doesn't know what she's doing 1000 point list.
Right. So I
So
guess what was your experience playing this particular list?
Um, I learned a lot about the rules of the game and also how you think about each of your units. So, one thing that I learned is that each game has different objectives. That
Mhm.
seems obvious to everyone. It's not to a very new player. And your team needs to be able to adapt to each of those objectives, no matter what it is, because you're going to have your team on the ground essentially on the board ready to be deployed when you're choosing those. So I've started thinking hard about like, okay, so I had my 2 groups of flawless blades. One of them got absolutely eviscerated because they got caught out on the middle objective by themselves. So that's why I switched to having 6 because they wouldn't have been able to take out all 6 and they would have been able to do a lot more damage. Fulgrim is a really big heavy hitter. He's very intense. And you want him in the action, but not so in the action that he's getting thronged and hit over and over and over and over again, because that's when, if luck is on someone's side, you could suddenly lose your big guy. And then also, I think one of the big things that I learned was I really like Lucius. I think he works really well. He has a very cool mechanic that I'm glad that I went with. Kind of, I did it mostly for narrative reasons because Lucius. So, if you don't know, Lucius has this cool thing. Yeah, I don't think it says it on here.
Is it one of the keywords, or
Where basically, what?
is it one of the keywords, or the ability, or? Ooh.
There's the sidebar. Yes, I think it's an ability. Okay, so it's called Duelist Hubris. At the start of the fight phase, if this model is not leading a unit until the end of the phase, it has the fight's first ability.
Yeah.
So I chose this largely because I don't believe that Lucius would ever ally himself with other Emperor's children, just because he never has in the book and doesn't care to, right? He is a man alone on the battlefield. And I chose that specifically because of, him wanting to do that. But I also kind of made a blunder in not reading all of his skills. He also has one called a challenge worthy of skill, which is each time this model makes an attack that targets a character, monster, or walker unit, you can re-roll the hit and re-roll the wound roll. He is not good at being kind of a secondary big guy. He needs to be your big guy who is throwing himself at other big guys all the time. Now, the army that I fought only had one big guy, which was Old One Eye. And so Fulgrim took him on, beat him up in like one turn. And Lucius was left to just fight little dudes. And so I feel like I didn't get to, I guess, utilize Lucius in the way that he's supposed to be utilized. But I don't know. That's like I said this on stream when we were playing, but it feels like you need like 5 to 10 games to learn how to play Warhammer, and then you need another 5 to 10 games to learn how to play your army. Like each army you need to like play again and again because you need to have these moments of being like, "Oh shoot, I could have done this," or "Oh man, if I had set him up this way." I mean, you learn through those little bitty failures, right? You need to have an overview of it, which I think I did. I had a basic idea of how it worked, but understanding the intricacies, I think, takes failing to use those intricacies and then going, "Oh man, if I had only done this." That I feel like is such a good way to learn how to work the army and really get the most out of it. And that was what I felt like with this. I was like, oh, okay, so like I did have ranged guys, and I did have melee guys, but my ranged guys, they only went up to like 18 inches. And so I really needed long range guys, or 24 to 36, maybe 48 inches. So that's what I was thinking about when I was building my second list, was like, okay, what was missing from this 1K list and how can I think about expanding that in a 2K list? One of the things about 1K that I have been told is that it does kind of, your options are limited, which I think is good if you want to challenge yourself for list building, but it may not have been the best for building my first list. Because I just like, there aren't that many guys here. I didn't get to see that many guys.
Yeah.
And I think what's nice about the 2K list, and I'm excited to run it one day, is just all these different options that I have, right? Tormentors are meant for their sticking power on objectives, whereas I was using Flawless Blades and Noise Marines for that. But now I've got a dedicated squad of dudes who's doing that. And then I've got the Lord Cacophonist, who we didn't have before, who can be a leader on the Noise Marines. We've got the Demon Princess Lanesh, who can cover those big groups on the sides that Lucius was covering, and instead Lucius can then charge into battle in front of Fulgrim because all he wants is to get a little kiss from Fulgrim and to be told that he did a good job. Like, there's a lot that can happen with this now that I feel like I understand much better, having gone through the 1K list. Would I do it any different? Absolutely not. I think it was a great way to learn how
Oh yeah.
everything works.
I mean,
So,
I think one of the best ways to learn is just to throw people into the game. Like, I recently had some
yeah.
friends learn the game, and the way we did it for them is we sort of went, okay, here's a 500-point list, and we'll do it like without tactical cards and without stratagems. You'll just do the data sheets, and then we did it again with 1,000 points and layered that, and then did it again at like 1,500, and then added like tactical cards and missions they're drawing each turn. They have to start learning how those work. Do you just dive into
Yeah, we
everything?
also we didn't do we did do stratagems, but we didn't do secondary objectives.
Okay.
The stratagems were definitely uh it was interesting because my stratagems for Emperor's Children, I went with the detachment Court of the Phoenician, which works very well with Fulgrim, but I didn't really have to use any of the stuff that came with it. And also one of the big ones is that I believe like you can re-roll hit rolls or something, wound rolls. I'm gonna get it wrong. You can re-roll something if the strength of the attack is higher than your toughness just off the bat. But since I was fighting a bunch of Tyranids,
Yeah.
that never happened. So I just never got to use that stratagem. Even when we were fighting Old One Eye, he only ever targeted Fulgrim, and I don't think his strength was higher than Fulgrim's toughness. And if it was, I didn't ever use it because he hit Fulgrim once. I
If
think that
I
was one of the, yeah.
if I recall, the strat you might be thinking of is I think it's 2 CP and it's reroll hits and wounds against characters or something like that. It's something like that. Actually, let me just check. Yeah, interesting to hear that you didn't use secondaries. That'll be definitely an interesting next step next time you try playing, if you feel like trying that. Because a big part of 40k, as far as going to tournaments and stuff, is actually like the way you manage your command point economy. And do you know how tactical cards work? Or
Yes, I think actually, are tactical cards the one in Tabletop Simulator where they're in your hand?
they're the secondary cards. I probably shouldn't call them tactical cards because they don't have to be tactical. But
I understand how they work, but they were too much for me to handle executive function wise while I was also learning like how wounds worked. Like there
yeah,
was there was more base stuff to get hold of, you know. Um
admittedly, I don't think it helps that wounds are functionally health and they count down instead of up.
yeah.
You think it was the other way
Oh
around?
god, I
Think,
got so mad about that on stream. I was like, "James Workshop, I have a strongly worded letter for you about that
do you
because it's
want?
literally just health. Just call it health."
Do you want to know what's worse? In some of their other game systems, they have health, but in those systems, it counts up.
No. Why? Why did they get it right then wrong again?
Games Workshop. Um, well, but I guess which mission did you play last time for your primary mission?
Supply drop. Which
Okay.
is funny because like I had done an introductory game to it, where basically I got walked through the first part of it. And we actually looked at supply drop. So when that came through, I was like, ah, I actually know how this one works.
Mm.
Except in the end, I didn't because I still thought that all objectives could give points. And so that caused me to do some movement stuff that wasn't great. But I don't fault myself for that. I think having watched I've watched some games from 40K in 40 minutes from Play on Tabletop, which was really, really great as an introduction to the flow of the game, to how the models move, to the idea of it. It was really cool. It was also great to see how the games themselves, even without being like full narrative games, have a kind of narrative flow to them no matter what. And as somebody who's coming from the tabletop role playing game design side of things, I have to say like I spent a very long time being like war games are not for me. There's no narrative potential in them. You're literally just bashing dudes together. Who cares? And I feel like I have done a full 180 on that and I'm like actually there's a huge narrative potential within war games and
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been having discussions with folks in the tabletop role playing game space about that specifically. And some of them are like, finally, thank goodness you understand it. Because I have been a staunch, like, anti war gamer for a long time. And so the fact that I even gave this, because, like, it's known that I am not a fan of D&D. Like, I'm kind of a D&D hater. I will play it with, like, in certain circumstances, but I just believe that there are 40 other games that will do what D&D like what you want D&D to do. And I think to be anti D&D means that by extension you kind of are anti war game because it is built on those foundations. I was also like a bit against OSR, which is old school Renaissance. Sorry, I'm getting into tabletop stuff, but all
So
this
that's
to
fine.
say like there's a lot to be said for what the potential in war games for narrative stuff, and it was really cool to see that in the play on 40K and 40 minutes, even just as like a regular game. And I think that's one of the things that I've been thinking about in list building and in the game itself is like how much, because I don't think I'll ever do a tournament, even though my stream keeps joking about it. Just because for me, I would always want a bit of a narrative element there with the other player, even if it's just joking back and forth in a certain way. And I just think like a timed game doesn't allow for that kind of goofiness that I'm going to crave in every single game of this that I play. But I said I would never play a war game, so I'm not gonna say any strong statements ever again. I feel like.
Admittedly, I do think people overstate the time part of tournaments because I think once
Mm,
the big thing about learning to play at like tournaments is learning what all your stuff does. Like if I'm playing my army at this point, I've played enough games of it that I don't even need to check the app to know the stat lines of my weapons, and I just roll it, and that just saves so much time. Because the biggest time thing will, especially early on, will be you checking the rules and going, "Have I done this right? Did I forget a stratagem? Did I forget to score points?" And like honestly, every time I go to a tournament, even though the round time is usually about 3 hours, I usually finish most of my games in about two. Although that will depend on the army you're playing. Like, for example, if you're playing an army of 200 infantry dudes, or like Tyranids, for example, can do that. That might be a person that's fairly likely to run out of time because of how much stuff you're trying to move.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I'll never play a
Oh
tournament,
no.
you know? I will eat those words in, like, 8 months, I know for a fact if I say them. So, my only hope is to just be like, "Probably not." But I think it's very interesting. I feel like for me right now, the main thing is I like kind of the silly goofiness that is non-competitive. I understand it is inherently a competitive game, but the thing that has made it fun for me is or the what has made it fun for me in list building and in playing that game was that it felt a little silly goofy, and I think that's important to keep
Oh yeah, for sure.
alive, at least for me. So
I guess the thing I'll highlight about the sort of, I think there's a association with the word tournament and competitive. I think about half the people I've ever met at a tournament aren't going there to compete at all. Like, there's always like 5 to 10 people at an event that are like, I want to bring a Titan. I want to bring 18 flawless blades and three and three Mauler Fiends, for example. There's always people that bring the silliest lists possible and just go there to play games. So it's not like
wait,
it's.
18 3 Mauler Fiends is silly? Are you telling me this isn't viable in the meta?
I'm not saying that. You play what you want. No, honestly, I think the Mauler Fiend's like a solid data sheet. It's not the best one in the Emperor's Children range, but it does see some competitive play. I think
Okay.
18 Flawless Blades, on the other hand, will be a struggle unless it's specific meta games, because they have a very specific job, and I guess we can talk about that in a second. I guess another thing I'll mention, actually, because the mission you played was Supply Drop. That's actually one you often don't see at tournaments, because it has a lot of issues at tournaments, which is that, not that it's not necessarily fun, but a lot of people have found out about that particular mission. As you know, where the objectives leave over time. On the final turn, where that central objective is worth 15 points, if you go second and you lose the die roll for going first, if you just walk onto that objective on the 5th turn, you get 15 free points. So going second is a massive advantage in that particular layout.
Oh.
But that's because
Okay.
that's because if you're going second in Warhammer on the 5th turn, on almost every mission, I think it's every mission, you score your primary at the end of that turn.
Mhm.
So you don't actually have to be on the objectives at the start of your last turn if you go second. So for that particular mission where that central one's worth so many points, it makes it very easy to just walk onto it. I guess when you sent me this list, I think
Yeah.
first off, I guess the way I would describe my list building process is I love meme lists. But the way I tend to think about things, and this comes from my background of playing like card games and stuff like that, like I used to go to like tabletop card game tournaments when I was younger, is I love taking something that's not competitive and then sort of refining it and keeping the core of like the flavor of it, and then making it as playable as possible within those boundaries, if that makes sense.
Say right before I got into Warhammer, I was watching a lot of Wolfie VGC, and I think he's the master of the meme list in Pokemon. And so that kind of competitive play where you're taking something that theoretically shouldn't work or only works in like um, if you really, really understand the strategy you're using, I find to be really fascinating. I don't think I can play like that, but I do find it to be really cool. And that sounds similar to what you're describing. So,
Yeah. So I guess in that vein, the way I looked at this list when you first sent me it is mentally I went, okay, so the core of this list is 3 Mauler Fiends and Fulgrim.
hmm
My
yeah,
then immediate
Pokemon walks
thought,
his dogs.
the Fulgrim Water Stars, it's in the list name, right? Kind
Yeah.
of in the same way as like I talked to Paul recently, the YouTuber. You know of him,
hmm
or and his
Paul's bad at
lists,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and his lists are always how many Centurions can I fit in the list, and then fit stuff around that.
yeah.
And I've had a lot of discussions with him where we talk about like, okay, if we cut 3 Centurions and put something else in, it's actually sort of a competitive list, even though there's still like 18 of the bloody things. Because
Yeah.
you can make it work. There's like certain points at which things become functional. I think looking at this list you're showing here, my immediate first thought is if your opponent happens to be playing an army that is a bunch of small things, you might struggle. Because what you've got here is a lot of units that want to punch big things. Noise Marines can punch small things, but they're not cheap for doing it. So I think of it this way, I guess. If your opponent was to put a 70-point squad onto an objective, what you would then have to do in response is functionally send out the Noise Marine squad, shoot it at them, and then the Noise Marines would probably die on your opponent's turn. And in doing so, you kind of traded down about 70 points.
That's kind of what I ran into when we ran the 1K list. Because by the time that my opponent deep struck with 80 gargoyles, I was down 3 flawless blades and like 5 noise marines, and so I was very low on points for what. But I had gotten rid of quite a few um, of the termagants and hormagaunts. But then to be met with another, like 80 gargoyles was it was daunting in a way, because I was like, oh, I know how many noise marines I'm likely to lose, even if I felt like in the end I would still win that overall encounter. I'm pretty confident that unless the dice absolutely hated me, I would have come out probably at least with Fulgrim at the end. Maybe it would have been Lucius alone on the battlefield with a bunch of Tyranids and Dead Emperor's Children, and he'd have been very happy about that. But, you know, I understood, I guess, on some fundamental level that I was taking a lot of losses just to get rid of dudes that weren't worth very much.
Yeah.
But Noise Marines in my head, and maybe this is incorrect, are kind of the intercessors. Might be that's how my brain is thinking about it. Now this is probably wrong, but kind of the intercessors of the assault intercessors. I think that's the dudes I have a million of in Blueberry Boys.
So I think you're a little off the mark, but not like horrendously so. So I guess the way I'd say it is, I think you're right in the sense that they're an iconic unit, but they're not the same role necessarily.
Okay.
I would liken assault intercessors to something more like infractors, which are your other battle line option that you don't have here.
Oh, I'm getting 10 of those.
Yeah, so infractors, I think they actually have the same datasheet rule as assault intercessors. They have the reroll once to wound, reroll wound rolls if you're on an objective.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, I think the reason I built the list with so many noise marines is because I legitimately have that many noise marines. I just ended up with so many of them.
No, that's completely fine.
But I think I will have 10 tormentors and 10. Hold on. Let me find out, because when I started building this list, I started with what was on there in the Lords of Excess box. Is that, I mean, maybe this isn't the best way to build it, but I am thinking about, like, can I use what I have essentially, or what I will have?
I mean, honestly, from like a new player perspective, if you're trying to build it to actually play in real life, that is where I would start. And then from there, you can gradually adjust towards what you want your ideal list to be.
Yeah, so the problem with this box, I'm gonna be for real with James Workshop here. I kind of wish they'd given us 6 Noise Marines and like Lucius or something, like a second character, because they're giving us the Demon Prince, 12 Noise Marines, 10 Tormentors, and 10 Infractors, which, great, but I already have 6 Noise Marines from the last box that they did.
Well,
So
it could be worse actually. So I got you know the box they released when Emperor Children first released, the like Champions of Slanesh box, that limited run one. That box is almost identical to the box that you just got with the 12 Noise Marines, except instead of the Demon Prince, you have a Lord Exultant and the Codex that came with it. So because I bought that, I couldn't really get the new boxes I would have to the 24 Noise Marines, which you can't actually play. So they've been putting lots of Noise Marines in all the boxes, which makes a lot of sense. I think people love the Noise Marines, and rightly so. They are very cool.
Can Noise Marines be converted into like any other faction?
Not.
Or are they pretty?
So, I mean, I'm not going to say no, because ultimately kit bashing is a thing. You could arguably kit bash anything into anything, but from like a gameplay perspective, no. However, Chaos Space Marines do have access to Noise Marines because each of the like iconic units is in the Chaos Space Marines Codex, and they can use them as allies essentially. So you could take Rubrics, Corn Berserkers, Noise Marines, and the Death Guard battle line unit. I forget what they're called, Plague Marines. in Chaos Space Marines, and some people do that with Noise Marines in competitive lists, because if you put them inside a Rhino, they get access to the Chaos Space Marines army rule despite not being part of that codex.
Yeah. Well, that might be fun. I might actually what I might because I'm thinking in terms of painting, and I'm gonna have 18 of them. What I might do is paint 12 of them because my entire EC list is going to be painted 30K. I might cave and actually paint one unit as 40K. I just can I this is my hottest Warhammer take. I hate the 40K color scheme for Emperor's Children. I know a lot of people like it. I think it looks so gross. Um I just wish they had chosen a lilac color instead of a freaking pink. I don't know why it's pink. It doesn't make sense to me. It makes 0 sense to me.
I mean,
So,
I
I
guess
don't know.
the realistic answer is going to be that there's not really any other pink armies.
Is there a lilac army though? I feel
uh, well, like a purplish color, or like
like I guess I understand the kind of symbolic idea of it is this like fading away of who the Emperor's Children used to be, and like you're getting this very faded half like color that comes from purple, but I really wanted it to be like this nice, almost pleasant lilac color, like light purple instead of the weird, not quite soft but not quite hard pink. I don't know. It's I don't know why I have such a weird hot take about this, but I don't like it.
to be fair,
So,
I think their paint scheme for the
uh,
army is fairly Marmitey, I guess. Like some people like it a lot, other people don't. I think I err on the side of I like it, but I think that's less to do with the colors and more that I kind of like that each individual model has a different combination of the colors. Like they're all fairly unique and you can
mm.
paint them in different patterns, which is quite interesting. I know quite a few people who also quite enjoy the like the weird like zoo pelt style like rock and roll patterns they did for that one Noise Marine model a few years ago. But if you've seen the one with the guitar,
Oh, yes, yes.
yeah, quite a few people like doing that. But that's I can't imagine painting an army like that though. Um,
Here's the thing, when other people paint it, I think it looks fine. I think it looks like a good army when people do it. I think it mainly boils down to I don't wanna paint 18 of those guys in that color and then also paint. Because here's the thing, Fulgrim's purple. Even in 40K, Fulgrim is purple, so I think it works to use the old 30K colors. Um, but I don't know. That's my one and only hot take about Warhammer. That and more people should care about 30K. But like, I don't really have big opinions. I think they look fine for other people. It's not my taste, I guess is the best way to say it.
I guess
Um,
my milk water taste. I don't know what word I'd use there. That's a weird way to phrase that. Milk toast, something like that. Take would be
mm.
like people can just paint them whatever color they want. I guess Fulcrum doesn't have to be purple.
Oh, yeah, but I like him as purple. That's what
I
I'm
do.
saying is that I think if he's purple, then the rest of my Space Marines can be purple. I don't think obviously nobody has to paint them pink. Nobody has to paint them purple. I want to paint them purple. Um,
I'm actually quite fond of the
Purple.
I'm painting mine as the black and pink, but I know quite a few people are quite fond of the sort of pinkish gold. There's one in the Codex where you paint them gold, and
Oh, I
it
haven't
looks
seen the
interesting.
Codex, so
Yeah, in the Codex there's a paint scheme for them that's like a sort of goldish color, with sort of like a purplish pink wash over it. It's called like the Threnodic
oh,
Choir is the name of their like sub faction or something. And it's sort of the same
that
color
sounds
as like
cool.
it's sort of the same color as Fulgrim's like armor plates, sort of off gold. We're we're super tangent here, super tangenting here, aren't we?
Well, honestly, I mean, to me, this is very related to list building because for me, unless you're playing only on tabletop sim, which like right now I am, but I do plan to play in real life. The what I want to paint stuff is very important to me.
Hmm.
When it comes to because like I'm happy to take the infractors and tormentors. I just happen to have so many noise marines. So would your suggestion be to take like maybe one with an infractor squad, two infractor squads, and then a tormentor squad, which is what they've got in the box right now?
Um, honestly, I don't necessarily think you have to cut Noise Marines. I think they're fine. I just use the Noise Marines as an example of like I was sort of in a general way saying that kind of applied to most units in this list. That if you poke them out to kill like a 70-point unit, they probably die in return. Because this is a big thing about Emperor's Children and their playstyle is that they're, I guess, what I would call a finesse army, in that they're fast, they hit relatively hard, but they don't really, they're not that durable. Like they're not necessarily any more durable than regular Space Marines. Noise Marines are a little bit because they're toughness 5 and most Space Marines are toughness 4, but they're still 2 wounds with a 3-up armor save. But I think a big thing about this particular detachment that you've chosen that particularly makes Infractors quite attractive is the detachment rule, which, do you remember what it does?
Is that the one where you target the sensational performance?
Yeah, so essentially, if you charge a thing and you're the first person to fight that thing, you get +1 strength and AP, which works really well for the Infractors because they're just a bunch of attacks at strength 4, AP 1. So what this does is it pushes them up to strength 5, AP 2, which means for their points cost, they're very efficient at killing lots and lots of small infantry. So what you could do is just take 2 or 3 5-man squads of Infractors, and they're like 70, 80 points, and they're fast and can kill stuff of their same size. I have seen people try 10-mans as well. It's there's options there. I think you'll see online in terms of 40k a lot is the idea of what people call MSU, which MSU is short for it's like minimum size unit or something to that effect. And quite often, a line of thought you could have in terms of building armies for Warhammer is, do I need this unit to be bigger than its minimum size? And what benefit does that give you? So as an example, in one of the other Emperor's Children detachments, Coterie the Conceited, which is probably the most popular competitive one for this army, lots of people take 2 or 3 Infractor squads with Lord Exultants attached, but only 5 Infractors with Lord Exultant, because they're not actually playing the Infractors to do that much damage on their own, but because the Infractors rule that lets them reroll wounds amplifies the damage of the unit that's attached to it. So the value of it kind of comes from the fact that they're sort of just a bonus damage to their leader, more so than their individual damage. Not that they can't necessarily kill stuff, because they do have some damage, but...
Okay.
Sorry, was that a lot?
What's a Chaos Spawn? Do they look cool? Hold on.
Mileage may vary with those. They are old minis, but a lot of people proxy them with other stuff. So, for example, I'm using, for my army, some of the Age of Sigmar Slangor Fiend Bloods, I think, as proxies for mine. Because the original Chaos Spawn models for 40k that we currently have access to are quite old. They're like little gribbly things. Depends if you like how they look, though.
I'm Googling them. I can get a gigantic spawn of Chaos. That looks cool.
So Chaos Spawn are like little squads of 2. They're like 70 points, I think. I can't quite see it on the sheet.
You just look up Chaos Spawn. It doesn't show them.
Does it not?
No, they're like in groups. Oh, there they are. They're temporarily out of stock. These look goofy as heck, dude.
Yeah, they're quite old. Yeah, I mean, there's
Why
a lot.
Does he have a bush?
Why does he have a what?
He has a bush. He's got a bush downstairs. That's absolutely
God,
crazy.
I see what you're looking at. God damn it.
Why did they do that?
I don't know why they did that. I mean, my knowledge of these kits is it just comes with a ton of weird tentacles, arms, and horns, and you can basically plug them into whichever hole you like. So you could, in theory, have like multiple heads or like 4 limbs. But it is quite an old kit, so it does look quite dated. You can kind of see that.
Genuinely, it looks like if I just chose the right base and I could like kit bash a bunch of little arms together and I'd be like, this is my Chaos Spawn, Squiggles McSquiggle, you know? And they'd be like, great, whatever, dude.
I mean, I'll send you this as an image. This is the models that I use as mine. And then,
those are cool.
Yeah, so those are Slaanesh models from Age of Sigmar. So they're I had to replace their bases with a slightly bigger base, but they're they look a bit more Slaanesh-y at least. There's a bunch of people that have made STLs and 3D printed variations as well. Yeah, there's options there.
There are there is one guy that I got sent from Age of Sigmar, and if you could come up with a way that I could use it in a 40k list through some kit bashing, I would be so grateful. I
Uh,
got sent a Doom Wheel.
oh, good
Do you know
lord.
what a Doom Wheel is?
Doom Wheel. Oh, the Skaven model.
Yes,
Oh
it's
my
so
god.
good. It's
Ugh.
so good.
Is it, what base size is
Oh,
it?
if I just like replaced the Skaven but kept the rats and then used it for something like Plague Marine, like Death Guard, like I feel like that would work.
I mean,
I feel like I could make that work.
hear me out.
Okay.
Take the Skaven off it.
Yeah.
Put it on a Mauler Fiend sized base and put a bunch of demonettes around it.
Yeah.
And you just, you just run it at people.
Just run it as a Mauler Fiend.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I can't tell from the image. It looks like a fairly chunky base though, so it doesn't look small.
I can tell you the base size, I think.
That's really funny though.
It is kind of a gigantic base, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think they say it on the back, but I have the base. It looks
I've just found it.
wait, hold on.
It's 105 millimeter by 70 millimeter apparently.
It has two bases.
Hey.
That's so weird. I don't know what that second base is for.
So Mauler Fiend's on 120 by 92 millimeter base, so it's a little bigger.
Yeah.
But you could, in theory, do that.
That's great. Because it could be a Mauler Fiend wheel. You know how like they have hamster wheels?
Just put Mauler
It's a
Fiend on
wheel
top of the
for
wheel
working up my
running on
Mauler
it.
Fiend. That would be so good.
Oh,
Wait! I just thought of the best kit bash. Okay. So you know the who are the dudes that are like the acrobats, the Harlequins?
yeah.
Doing a Harlequin with the Doom wheel, but you know it's like one of those wheels in like Cirque du Soleil
Oh my god.
and like those kind of circuses where they're like running on the inside and running on the outside. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Would that not make an incredible kit bash, dude?
That'd be pretty funny.
I'm sorry, can we detour for like 2 seconds for me to tell you about my incredible kit bash idea?
I think we've already derailed it, so yeah.
Okay, great. I have one more. I actually have two great ideas. One of them is a reclaimed Titan, which is a Titan that is being reclaimed by a forest, and there's like tree roots and like vines breaking it apart and stuff. That one sounds so cool to me. But the best one is the great clean one. I know that a great clean one model has already been made, but
Oh
you
yeah.
actually take great unclean one, you put him in a bathtub, and then you take one of the sword polisher models and give him a little scrub a dub dub.
Oh my god.
I think it would be so good.
That's terrifying.
I've been cooking these up, dude. I've been in the kitchen cooking it up.
Oh no.
Oh man, that Harlequin model sounds so sick. I gotta do that one day.
I do love Harlequin
Um,
minis. Yeah. Anyway, the list. But yeah, I always recommend having. Oh, so another cute trick that a lot of Emperor's Children players use, which you may or may not know, is: are you familiar with the Scout keyword?
no.
Okay, so Infractors have a keyword called Scout, and Scout means that after you finish deploying, and after you find out who goes first, you can move that many inches with that model.
Say that one more time for me.
That's fine. So Scout means after you've figured out who goes first and after you've deployed all your models,
Mm-hmm.
you can Scout move those models forward before the game starts, and then the first player takes their turn.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, actually, they don't have to move forward, so maybe I described that badly. Because technically, you could put them, for example, on your deployment line, and it turns out you're going second, and then you scout them backwards behind a piece of terrain, for example.
Yeah.
Or the other way around, obviously, you could do it aggressively and try and run at people. But there's a fun combination with this, is that if you put them inside a Rhino, any transport that has the dedicated transport keyword gains Scout if all of its occupants have the Scout keyword.
Oh.
So if you put 5 Infractors inside a Rhino, you can start the game, move the Rhino forward, and then the Infractors jump out of the Rhino and run at something. And sort of what it means is the Rhino's like forward deployed, essentially.
Well, I was gonna ask, how many dudes do you usually put in a transport? Because I've been thinking a lot about transports because my blueberry murder boys have a drop pod. They almost had two drop pods, but I was convinced that I shouldn't use two drop pods just because the pack comes with two drop pods. So I was deterred from that. But they do use a drop pod because I think they're sick as heck.
They
And
are sick.
so they're so sick, especially the 30K model looks super cool because it opens up. But those can hold like up to 12 Astartes, which seems crazy to me, but they can. And so like I'm wondering how many people do you normally put in a transport? How do I figure out who's gonna go in the transport, et cetera, et cetera?
So it'll depend. I guess it depends. First off, depends on your army because different armies use transports in different ways.
Hmm.
Quite often, what you'll see people do in Emperor's Children, competitively speaking, is they'll start uh 5 Infractors, sometimes with a Lord Exultant in a Rhino, have it scout forward. The Infractors then jump out, and then they jump the Noise Marines into the transport afterwards. Because if you start the Noise Marines in the transport with the guys with Scout, because the Noise Marines don't have Scout, the transport then can't Scout, because not everything inside it has Scout.
Okay.
So there's scenarios like that where you might not start them all in the transport, but there's other armies where you might just start with a transport with just 12 dudes in it. Because not every army has access to Scout. That's a specific keyword related thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But there are like limitations as well. Like I think I assume you probably found out that Flawless Blades can't go in a Rhino.
Just learned that just now. What a fun thing to know.
But they can go in a Land Raider, if I recall correctly.
Oh, Mr. Land says that's fine. Great.
Yeah, it's because the Land Raider is bigger, I guess. It can take Terminators and Flawless Blades.
Cool.
Yeah, so,
Well,
so the Rhino, for example, it says this model has a transport capacity of 12 Emperor's Children infantry models, excluding Terminators and Flawless Blade models.
okay. That makes
We're
sense.
learning things.
Learning lots of things. Do you want to try and build a list, or do we not have enough time? Because I yap too much.
I still got a bit more time, yeah.
Me, professional yapper.
Professional yapper. Well, we're definitely keeping Fulgrim, and we're definitely keeping the 3 Mauler Fiends. So I think
Yes.
the things this list is probably was missing was some stuff that kills smaller things. So having the Infractor Squad helps there a bit. I don't know if you've looked at this or not. Have you looked at the enhancements that are in this detachment and what they do?
No. Well, kind of.
Kind of.
Kind
Okay.
of.
So there's a few enhancements in this detachment that are interesting. There's one that lets you ignore modifiers or something. Let me pull it up on my screen actually, so I can see what I'm
Yeah.
looking at.
That's the one I was just looking at. That's Tears of the Phoenix. Each time a model in the bearer's unit makes a melee attack, you can ignore any or all modifiers to that attack's weapon skill characteristic and any or all modifiers to the hit roll and wound roll.
Yeah, do you know what that means?
Kind of, but not really. I know that that would go probably best on the Lord Exultant, or whoever's in charge of the Flawless Blades. The problem is Lucius is usually the one in charge of the Flawless Blades, but I could put a Lord Exultant with them. Let me do that.
So there's a small caveat there, which is that the Lord Exultant can't actually go with Flawless Blades unless they had the enhancement, because there's an enhancement in this detachment that lets you do it.
Is that Exalted Patron?
Yes.
No. Yes.
Yeah, Exalted Patron is the one that lets you do that. It's a bit of a weird enhancement in my opinion, because Lord Exultant, what it gives to a unit is lethal hits, which means 6s to hit automatically wound, which is really useful for units that struggle to hit beefier things. And Flawless Blades don't really struggle to hit beefier things because their rule lets them wound anything in the game on 3s. Because they have the thing where they're like, I'm going to kill this thing, and if I don't, Slanesh kills one of us.
Yeah.
So that one's odd. There is some interesting scenarios where you might consider taking that enhancement and not attaching it to a Flawless Blade squad, because it actually makes the model 1 inch faster.
Oh.
The entire reason that 1 inch faster part is there is because Flawless Blades move 1 inch faster than the Lord Exultant.
Well, so then it seems like you could add Tears of the Phoenix to the Lord Cacophonist, who can go with the Flawless Blades.
Lord Cacophonist,
because he does not.
does it let
I mean, this says he can.
Does it let them do that? I didn't realize he could do that.
Yeah, this.
Exalted Patron says it can only attach to Lord Exultants, so you can't take that enhancement on the Lord Cacophonist. I'm not sure why it's letting you on the recruit attach the Cacophonist to Lawless Blades, because I don't think they can. I'm like fairly sure that's not possible.
Ah, no, this can only be on a Terminator squad or Noise Marines. I don't know what a Terminator squad even is.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah. Emperor's Children
yeah.
have their own version of Terminators. They're okay. They're not anything particularly inspiring.
Never seen a Terminator.
You've never seen a Terminator? Oh,
Do
everyone's
they
going to
look
be very
like?
upset with you. They're very famous.
Oh, let's see.
Uh,
Terminator armor, I think, is what Abaddon wore when he beat up Loken.
yes,
Yeah, okay, I have seen
yeah,
these guys before.
yeah. Terminators are fairly famous. Most famously, you'll probably recognize the blue painted ones that Ultramarines have. Um,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
that's a Terminator.
I've seen those.
But the Emperor's Children ones look a bit different because they're Chaos Terminators.
Yeah, I know they move slower than normal units because you
Yeah,
can't move very fast when you're in Terminator armor. Unless there's, like, one guy who can move fast in Terminator armor, I've heard, or something, but it's not, like, game-wise, it's, like, lore-wise. There's, like, a guy that can move fast on it.
there's a couple characters that are well known for that. I think there's one particular Space War character who's quite fast despite being a Terminator. Um,
Mm.
I'm sure there's others that I'm not aware of, but I've not read that many of the books. Yeah, Terminators are interesting. They have a rule called Deep Strike, which a few of the units in your army have, and that lets you arrive. Have you used reserves at all yet, or is that a rule you haven't touched yet?
Listen,
No, I'm
here's
just
maybe
curious.
another hot take. No, here's maybe another hot take. If you're putting your army in reserves, you're a coward, okay? You better put all your minis on the table to start with. You gotta bring out the codex and slap it on the table so we can measure them, okay? I need to reserves feel like I don't know, they're fine for horde armies, and I'm sure that one day maybe I'll use them, but, like, right now, I'm like, "No, they all go on the field. The entire army goes on the field, babe." Like, that's how it feels. I don't know why, but I feel pretty strongly about that.
That's interesting.
So,
I mean, you'll be
I don't
you'll be pleased to know that the Demon Prince with Wings and the Demon Prince both have Deep Strike, which is to do with reserves.
well, I mean, I understand how Deep Strike works. I've
Hmm.
had it used against me in my one game, but I also I am the type of person that I would put something in reserves and then literally forget it exists for the entire game.
Ah,
I'm not kidding. I think we would get to turn 4 and my opponent would be like, "Hey mate, are you planning on using your Demon Prince of Slanesh with wings? He's still in your reserves." And I'd go, "Oh, my Demon Prince. Oh no!" You know?
there's a
Like that is
there's a fun fact for that actually.
oh,
If your unit stays in reserves and until at the end of turn 3, it just dies because it didn't come in.
incredible. Incredible.
You don't.
I would accidentally kill like 6 powerful dudes. Like I just
Yeah. Bear in mind reserves.
oh,
When I say reserves, I don't mean stuff that's in transports. Transport stuff's fine.
yeah.
The only other exception is if you have something on the board that teleports off the board. So there's some things that let you do that, and they can come in turn 4 or 5. But stuff that starts in
Mhm.
Deep Strike or reserves, yeah, just dies after turn 3.
So people should probably know I call everything that I don't do a coward move. So I don't thin my paints. So if you thin your paints, you're a coward. Like if you do anything that I refuse to learn how to like for a while, if you primed in black, you were a coward, and then I finally started priming in black. Um, like that's kind of the joke. I don't use Deep Strike or haven't used it in the one game that I've played, so it's a coward's move as far as I'm concerned. It's
Wait,
my favorite bit that I do on stream. I'm
what,
not
what,
even kidding. It's
what,
so funny to me.
well, if you're going to use that drop pod, you're going to need to learn how to use Deep Strike.
Uh, I guess that's a good point. To me, that feels different than just like sending in random units. Like I'm making a statement when I use a drop pod.
That's
I'm
fair.
saying get out of my way, you know?
To be fair, the drop pod's like rule it has lets you drop in like a turn earlier than usual, so you can use it quite aggressively compared to normal Deep Strike. Uh, but
Okay.
yeah, let's play with the list a bit, I guess.
Yeah.
So we've got Fulgrim, we've got Lucius. Those both of those are fine, I think. Lucius, it can be good, can be bad. Depends on potentially. I'm not going to say metagame because you're not building for competitive play or anything, so we could just keep him for flavor reasons at the moment. What models here do you actually not own currently?
So I will own a 30k Lucius. I actually will also own a 30k Fulgrim. I know the base is very different for that one. I'm not sure if the 30k Lucius could be swapped in. Um,
Um, so,
I
so long as he's on the right base size, you should be fine.
Yeah, I assume I could just get the correct base. I don't have a Lord Exaltant. I don't think I have a Lord Cacophonist. Um, and I don't own any of the Mauler Fields or the Chaos Rhino, or the Mauler Fiends. But that's largely because I haven't. So I have a. I won't do an ad read in your stream, but I have a sponsor that has a lot of Warhammer stuff,
Mhm.
and you can send me stuff through them, or people have sent me stuff through them. So sometimes I get sent random things like Doom Wheels, but sometimes people will get me things that are on brand for what I'm trying to build. The thing about the Mauler Fiend models though is that I've heard people are kind of expecting a reboot on them, so I'm not like chomping at the bit to get Mauler Fiends right now. Also because I do know that like I may change this list, and those are really big, and getting 3 of them is kind of a commitment.
Yeah.
So,
So
that's why, like, I've held off on getting any Mauler Fiends.
so I will say regarding that part, I think that
Yeah.
that line of thought comes from there was essentially a teaser a month or so back, to do with the new Iron Warriors stuff and the vehicles that were generically being announced, like the Defiler I was talking about earlier. This is before we started recording.
Yeah.
Um, I think there was an image that looked like a Mauler Fiend back piece, so people were thinking there was going to be a new one of them, and I think that back piece is the Defiler, so that might not be something you need to worry
Oh.
about. The Mauler Fiend and Forge Fiend kit isn't an old kit. It's like within the last 5-10 years. I think it's probably like 2017. So it's very unlikely. I think that one's going to go anywhere anytime soon.
What
As
is a
far
Forge Fiend?
so the box that the Mauler Fiend so the box that the Mauler Fiend comes in can build as two different things. You can build it as a Mauler Fiend or as a Forge Fiend. The downside is Emperor's Children currently do not have access to the Forge Fiend. It's
But he
not.
looks so cool.
He does, but apparently, yeah, a big thing they've apparently made part of Emperor's Children's identity is that Emperor's Children doesn't really have much in the way of long range shooting, which you kind of pointed out earlier. So it's interesting that you noticed that.
Yeah.
Um, I think the longest range gun Emperor's Children have access to is the las cannons on the Land Raider, but they're not like that good. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about them being like an unsafe investment or anything, though. I don't think they're likely to be replaced anytime soon.
The thing is, there's a part of me that's like, "Hey, May, it's really funny to have Fulgrim walk his dogs, but each of those models costs $90. Do we think we could maybe spread out $180 somewhere else, model-wise, and just get 1 Mauler Fiend and also get back 260 points?" The problem is I kind of started building this around the meme of Fulgrim walks his dogs and then lost the plot after that, and I'm not sure what I could do different.
Well,
'Cause I don't one of the big things is I before I commit to anything other than those 2 boxes, which have already, been purchased and are the basis for, I think, any Emperor's Children detachment really, or not detachment, but any army, 2K army for them. Um, Before I start getting these little extra accoutrements, I want to play this in tabletop sim at least a time or two, if not more than that,
yeah, for
and
sure.
just get a feel for it to see if I actually like it before I commit to 3 very large dogs. Because if I hate how they play and
Yeah,
then I buy them, because end of the day, I want to paint at least 1 Mauler Fiend because there are 2 demons inside of me, and one of them is saying I should buy everything to build a bunch of armies, and the other one is saying I should buy everything just to paint them. So, they're constantly fighting and also kissing or whatever. But like, I I'm trying to balance those 2 feelings of like, what do I want to paint? What do I want to actually play? If it could go, if a Mauler Fiend could go in any other army, that's a huge plus for me as well. I don't think they can. Uh, Except I guess Forge Fiend can go with maybe Chaos Space Marines.
So Chaos Space Marines have access to both the Mauler Fiend and the Forge Fiend as options they can
Mm.
take. Emperor's Children just have the Mauler Fiend.
Do people ever play CSM? Like,
Yeah,
is that a meta thing? Okay.
well, not even necessarily a meta thing. It's just an army that's fairly played. Like all the variants of Chaos Space Marines. So CSM is sort of the, I guess, generic. They're like the Ultramarines of Chaos to a degree. And then you have
Yeah.
Death Guard, Emperor's Children, Thousand Suns, and World Eaters, all of which have solid player bases. They will have a decent number of people that play them.
Well, because from what I've heard, everyone thinks that Fulgrim is the worst Primarch and like to play.
Yes.
And I don't think they're necessarily wrong, but he looks so cool, I can't be convinced of anything different. The good news is I think all the Primarch's models look very sick.
Oh
So
yeah.
if I had a way of like when I eventually cave and decide to paint another Primarch, like I'd love to have a way of running somebody like Angron. And I guess I didn't really know that the CSM was like an army you could run. I just assumed that was like the amalgamation of all the guys. But I guess like it is, but they're playable. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's not really a place you can play all the Primarchs together. That you have each of the legions, the 4 legions that are branch offs of that main one, because CSM is the, I guess it'd be like how there's Codex Space Marines, right? Chaos Space
Yeah.
Marines is like that, whereas Emperor's Children is more like how Blood Angels have their own separate codex and Dark Angels have their own separate codex. If that
Wait,
makes
so
sense.
yeah, I mean, right now, I'll lay out my list building and model painting plans. I don't know if I will actually get my Blueberry Murder Boys. As much as I love them and I have a bunch of them, I do want to paint Roundabout Guilty Man, um, Robot Gorilla Man. I do eventually want to paint him. I think he looks really cool. I love the blue. I've also painted them a pretty dark blue, and I really, really like that. I don't know if I'll build out this full army list, but uh, I do want to. I want a sisters army pretty bad, just because I really like how they look.
Hmm.
I'm kind of obsessed with them. I just got what are these dudes? I just got engines of redemption for them. That was my treat to myself from tax returns. So,
Nice.
that's that's kind of the next list. Also, I've been semi-convinced to maybe try Necrons. I think Necrons are super cool, but I also know that like the way this is gonna sound so weird. The way I think about this is kind of similar to League because that's like the game that I played that has a meta. And I know that like the League to Warhammer pipeline is pretty well established in a weird way. But I I think of Necrons as like a champion that takes a little bit more finesse and understanding, whereas a lot of Space Marines are like, I don't know, easy mid laners. I can only talk about League 10 years ago, but like you play LeBlanc, you push a few buttons, everybody dies. But you want to play Zed, you got to know positioning and understanding like how all of his stuff works, etc., etc. But to me, Necrons are like Zed, and Chaos Space Marines are like LeBlanc, or I can't think of anybody else. Ari, just like push a few buttons and everyone blows up.
Hmm.
I used to play Nasus. I mained top lane Nasus, and so like none of the armies that I'm currently building track on who I generally play, which is extremely tanky, slow moving guys that just build power. And that's like actually my comfort zone. And I'm weirdly out of it in these lists that I've been building.
Yeah, there's
But I
definitely.
don't,
Oh, sorry.
well, the thing is, I don't know. Here, this is not really a hot take. This is just something I've observed. It is kind of difficult to get an idea for how each of the armies play because everyone is very, I think, in a good way, kind of obsessed with pushing this idea of rule of cool. But I
Hmm.
do think it is important as a new player who's getting into it to learn a little bit more about how they actually play. Now, as someone who is very obsessed with the painting, I don't think I would get mad if I painted a whole 2K army and then didn't play it very much because the joy of painting is a thing in and of itself.
For
But
sure.
I would like to use it. I'd like to have a bunch of tanks, which I know I should just play Imperial Knights if that's what I want. But I don't know, that took me a long time to figure out, and I don't know if there's other dudes that are just super tanky and can just walk through the battlefield essentially. That's the kind of thing that I think would be really cool to play. Um,
So I
I don't know,
think,
thoughts?
yeah. So I think you're kind of right in that people do talk about rule of cool a lot. However, I think that applies to both rules and to like painting, because obviously there's this sort of painting style and the visual style of the models you're trying to paint, and there's also, do I enjoy how cool this feels mechanically? And I think that's two different
Mhm.
almost categories. So I might ask, I guess to you, I suppose, do you prefer focusing on how things look in terms of like, I would want to enjoy painting this, or I would want to enjoy playing this?
I think above all, it is about would I enjoy painting this? Because painting, how many blueberries have I painted? I painted 10 blueberries, and I was kind of like, "Oh man, you really have to like painting these guys. You have to
Yes.
like doing this specific thing." The good news is I do like painting blueberries. Um, but I'm about to start in on Necrons, and I have what, like 40 Necron models to do, and I have no idea if I'm going to enjoy it. But I'm gonna paint all of them. I get a base enjoyment out of painting, but I don't know if I'm going to get that extra little oomph that I got out of doing the details
Mm.
on blueberries because I really liked all the gorgeous gold that I got to paint, the trim and the Aquila, like all those things on the the Ultramarines. That was really fun for me. I like doing all the details, which is why someone got me the Doom wheel specifically because I love doing details and that's all details. So
Mm.
like that for me is kind of how I think about it. People keep being like, "Well, May, you're going to have to paint the trim on the Chaos Space Marines." And I'm like, "Yes, and I will eat that up with a spoon and a fork. I will eat that up so hard. I'm going to have the best time with it."
Out of
Like I just
curiosity,
know I am.
have you ever looked at
Yeah.
the Helldrake? Because that's a very famous one for trim.
I think people have brought it up quite a few times, but it's one of those models that keeps leaving my head as soon as I look at it.
It's one of those models where,
Um,
where I'm like, I will paint one.
oh
I
yes.
I own one. I want to paint it because it looks gorgeous. I'm dreading having to paint it. um,
Yeah, I mean, I think with a good Helensky sable brush and some a full brand new paint pot of Retributor armor, that would be just the most delightful time I've ever had. You
mm,
know, like that to me is so cool. I would want to paint it in assembly, but like, that's
yeah,
oh, it looks so sick to me.
but I
As
guess,
a
sorry, to go
yeah.
back to what you were saying before though, because I guess you said a lot of things. I'm trying to go back to a couple of them. It's interesting to me that you think Necrons are that much more complex than Space Marines, because I think in my mind they're about on par. Uh, I think a good way from like a mechanic standpoint to look at armies and to figure out how they play is quite often to look at what their army rule is. Because quite often it kind of summarizes the kind of vibe they're going to have on the tabletop. So, as an example, the way
Mm.
Necrons play on the tabletop is they are kind of a slow moving horde that sort of walks towards you and gets back up. It's relatively durable stuff that keeps regenerating. Um, so, as an example, a big thing in the meta right now is well, Necrons. Is they're very, very competitive at the moment, and a lot of people are taking. Do you know the Catan?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They look
Yeah,
really cool.
a lot of people are taking, I think, two or three in some scenarios of those, and their datasheet rule is that they are -1 to damage they take, and they have a feel no pain, which, if you don't know, means that when you take damage, you roll a dice, and
Yeah.
on a 5 up, they don't take damage, for the Hatan specifically. So they're really durable, and they regenerate every turn. So what people are doing is they're sort of walking them towards the opponent, gradually killing stuff and regenerating over time, which might be that kind of NASA style playstyle you're talking about. Um, it's not necessarily the most complex army in the world, and there is obviously to every army there's some complexity to how you play them. But like if I look to Space Marines for example, uh, their thing is Oath of Moment. You pick a thing, everything gets better at shooting that thing. So that they're much more. We're going to focus fire down this thing with multiple units with decent weapons. So they're not necessarily hard either, but I would probably put them as similar territory to Necrons, I suppose, depending on the detachment you
Which
play,
ones?
obviously.
Sorry.
Space Marines.
Ah.
Like
Well,
your
I
Breeze.
I like that the thing I liked about the Emperor's Children list was that I felt like I understood Flawless Blades and Noise Marines as 2 different units, right? Flawless
Mm.
Blades are your melee guys, and then your Noise Marines are your stand behind, shoot, shoot, shoot. Like, when I was playing, I had 1 Noise Marine unit that followed Lucius, even though he wasn't the leader, to basically protect him or kind of provide cover fire in a way. And, like, that made sense to me. Adding in these infractors and tormentors, I still have not fully grasped who these guys are. I'm working
Mm.
on that. I assume they're noise marines, but a little bit less cool.
Yeah,
Um,
so they're kind of like intercessors. So tormentors are a bit like intercessors. They have bolters. They have the same
uh-huh,
rule, which is if they're standing on an objective at the start of your turn, it becomes stickied, which means you own it even if you're not standing on it until your opponent walks onto it.
mhm.
Um, the only difference between them and intercessors is tormentors have the infiltrate keyword. I don't know if you've used that yet. Um, so
No, I
infiltrate
don't think so.
infiltrate means when you're deploying your army, when you deploy the infiltrate units can be deployed outside of your deployment zone,
Oh.
but not within 9 inches of your opponent's deployment zone or their units. So, for example, you could start this unit on one of the middle objectives. So what's
Huh.
Yeah. So what some people do, as an example, is you might, for example, in this list, take 2 Tormentor squads of 5-mans, put one on your home objective, and one start on one of the 3 middle objectives. And if you go first, at the start of your turn, both of those objectives become sticky, and you own both of them until your opponent walks onto them. Because there's kind of not a mind game there, but if you manage to sticky a middle objective, you can then retreat off it, and then it forces your opponent to walk stuff into the open onto that objective to take it back.
Okay. I like that. Also, I did make one change. Well, I made 2 changes. I got rid of the cacophonist. I didn't really care that much about him, and then added in the Helldrake instead of one of the Mauler fiends. That way, I could have the Helldrake and then 2 dogs. I still consider the Helldrake to be a type of dog, so this is still Fulgrim walks as dogs, but I do think it is funnier if Fulgrim is walking 2 dogs, 1 on each side.
Absolutely. I mean, if you like the Helldrake and you want to get that as a project, 100%. My only warning here would be the Helldrake falls under the category of aircraft, and for the most part, Games Workshop doesn't like making aircraft good. They're basically in a previous edition, I think it was 7th or 8th edition, there was meta games where you take
Uh-huh.
like 6 aircraft and you would kill your entire opponent's army in the first turn. Also ridiculous. It was very silly. So since then, they've been very cautious with them, and quite often they've made them worse than they should be. So, for example, the Helldrake. Weirdly, the Emperor's Children Helldrake has slightly better stats than most Helldrakes, but it's
Right.
like I think it has
'Cause they're
slightly high.
favored.
Yeah, I think it has slightly higher wounds or toughness or something than normal Helldrakes in other armies, because the other Chaos armies also have access to it. But its damage output isn't
Yeah.
great. It's just very fast, which is funny. Um, but yeah, I just want to warn you of that. If in case you want this to be good, I wouldn't expect the Helldrake to necessarily do tons of damage. But it is a very, very cool model.
I once again can't stress enough, I had 3 dogs at the beginning of this day
Now I know.
as the basis for my army, so I don't
Well,
know how much we're going for good.
that's true.
Um,
Although I would say the Morlafine has seen play in competitive lists, so seeing 2 or 3 of them isn't like so far from competitive that it's like unplayable, if that makes sense. Whereas the Helldrake's in more of a, I'll bring this to a casual event. I wouldn't necessarily take it to a tournament.
oh, this also gets thrill seekers.
Yes,
Okay,
so everything in your army here has thrill seekers, which is your army rule,
okay.
which means you're fast because everything has advanced charge basically.
Yeah, which is like, that's been really that was a cool thing to learn. I liked that.
Did you ever
So
have you figured out the way that it works though? The thrill seekers like restrictions, they're a bit odd.
Not really the restrictions on it. It says it cannot target a unit if it was within engagement range at the start of the turn. It cannot target a unit that was the target of another unit's charge or attack this phase. The main place that Thrill Seekers came in handy for me was in beginning positioning.
Yeah,
Like my very first turn, that was when I really utilized it because um I was up against a horde army, so I was going against like a lot of dudes. One of the things that I really would like to take this 2K army against is like armies that scare me. So like Imperial Knights really scare me. I'd like to try to fight them. Custodes scare me. I'd like to try to fight them. Necrons scare the heck out of me. Love to try to fight them. Like I want to take it against armies that scare the heck out of me just to see like are they really as hard to beat as I think they are.
Mm.
One of the issues is that like the person that I know that plays Imperial Knights has been playing Imperial Knights for over a decade, and so like I know I'll get crushed no matter what. And like the person that I know that plays Necrons has been playing Necrons for like over a decade, so I know that I'll get crushed. Like maybe that's why they seem a little scary to me because they're being played by veteran players. But I think
Yeah.
also the armies in general carry a lot of scary stuff with them. The reason I'm scared of Custodes is because when we were doing our chat army list, so like chat chose the army list that I went up against, and a lot of people submitted Custodes lists. And whenever those lists came up, people were like, "Oh, they must hate you, May." Because like they must not be fun to play against or something because chat seemed to indicate that they were not a fun list to play against.
So I
Which may or
guess
may not be true. So
yeah. So Custodes has, I don't want to say a reputation, but it's sort of, especially right now with the way it's being built competitively, is the current competitive list for that army is like 3 land raiders and then like 6 custodian guard squads, and that's basically the entire army. It's like a very boring army from like a list building perspective right now, because all the best stuff is you just take as many of them as you can, and that's the entire list. And then from like a gameplay perspective, they're quite simple, and sometimes you just lose because they rolled their 4-up invulns, and everything in their army has a 4-up invuln. So some players find it frustrating to play against. So it's not like people aren't necessarily malicious for playing it or anything, and it's also a very good budget army because custodian squads are very
yeah.
expensive in terms of points. So it's quite easy to get into that army as a beginner as well. But like, so if you go to the real sickest thing, to go back to that for a second, basically to summarize what that actually, the restriction actually is it basically means if you advance with 2 units, they can't both charge the same thing. Essentially, the entire thematic thing they've gone for with the way it works is all your guys, they want that high of being the first into combat kind of thing. Because they're after that perfection thing, right? They want to be the one that gets the thing. So if, part of it is you can't advance 2 things and charge the same thing. If one of them did a normal move and the other advanced, you could charge with the one that made a normal move first and then the one that advanced, and you're still allowed to do that. And then the other half of it is to say that if you fall back from an enemy, you can't then charge that same enemy again. Because when you charge, you get to fight. Because when you charge, you get to fight first before the other person. The idea is you're going to run into them, kill some stuff, and then your opponent take their turn. They might retreat from you or something, and then on your turn again, you're going to fall back from those things and charge something else. So you're sort of ping-ponging around the board, bouncing off your opponent's units, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's sort of how I would describe their playstyle. I will say, you mentioned knights. Emperor's Children don't famously have the best in terms of like stuff that kills tons of vehicles, because a lot of the Emperor's Children stuff is like strength 10 or so. Like the Noise Marine guns, for example, are strength 10, which means most tanks are toughness 10, so you wound them on 4s, which isn't spectacular. This particular detachment does have a stratagem which increases the strength of shooting, which is useful for that. Yeah, but I guess
You know so much about lists, dude. Like this is crazy to me. Like you just have so much knowledge in your head. It's really cool because you're just like, wow, these guys are known for not being able to. And I'm like, wow, how did you know that? That's so crazy. That's
I'm
so cool.
I'm really good at randomly memorizing things that even if I haven't played them. Like I used to. I mean, I mentioned earlier I used to play a ton of card games. I used to be really good at playing like really jank decks that no one would play, like know how to play against, and I would just turn up to events and be like, "Yeah, I'm playing this. You're gonna have to understand how to play it real fast." But yeah, so I'm quite good at learning my data sheets and stuff. I mean, I actually haven't played that much as Emperor's Children in person, to be honest. I still need to paint a lot of my stuff, so I actually haven't played it much in person. I've done some online testing of it though. So before I
They're
round this
so
out, I suppose,
cool.
let's see if we can, I guess, throw together a list. So I think the first thing I want to do here for now, because you don't own one, right, is maybe remove the Lord Exultant.
Okay.
Just because I want to start as close to what you currently have as possible. How many of the battle
Okay.
line models are you going to have total? Because I know you said you had a couple box sets.
10 infractors, 10 tormentors.
Okay, so what I'd say maybe for now is I would maybe Yeah, I would have a second Tormentor squad. The Tormentors do have different weapon options, by the way. It says one has a melter gun. So in that squad,
Yeah.
you can take one special melee weapon on the Sergeant and a plasma pistol. You almost always take the plasma pistol because it's just better than the bolt pistol. You can give it Power Sword or a Rupture Lash. The Power Sword is higher AP but lower attacks. The Rupture Lash is, I think, 6 attacks, 1 AP. I think right now most people take the Lash, especially in this detachment, because you get +1 AP and Strength when you charge, so your Lash will be Strength 5, AP 2, which is pretty decent. And then similarly, the Infractor's Sergeant has the same options. The melee ones, they can take the Lash and the Plasma Pistol as well. And then there's also one guy in each squad can take an Icon of Excess, which is below the weapon options on all of those. Zeros is Icon of Excess. Usually for the Tormentor squad, so this is for a modeling thing when you actually build them, unless you've already built them. Most people put the icon on the guy with the melter gun in the shooting squad.
Okay.
And in the melee squad, most people put it on the Sergeant because he has the best melee weapon. Whereas in the shooting squad, you're more likely to shoot with them. You could, if you wanted to, put it on the Sergeant in the shooting squad, I think, but I like it on the melter gun because randomly shooting. A random thing that might come up for you when you actually start playing this is all the ranged weapons in the Tormentor squad have precision, which means that if you shoot at a squad with a character, you can just, as long as you can see the character, you can apply the damage directly to the character. So that melter gun, if that hits a squad with a character, you just blap, like, I don't know, Titus out of the squad. He just dies.
Okay.
How many points are you currently at in this list after what I just changed?
1945.
1945. Ooh, okay.
I think my vehicles are taking up about a fourth.
They tend to do that, to be fair. Let me think.
Now I'll tell you, I'm willing to compromise on the Helldrake. I'll get something else other than the Helldrake. I just want to paint one.
If you want to play it, honestly, I like the Helldrake. You should definitely get one regardless. I think they're awesome. I think I would suggest having at least 2 Noise Marine squads. I don't know if you want 3 in this detachment. I know this will go over points. My suggestion here would be to have the second Noise Marine squad over the Flawless Blades. Which I know you quite like the Flawless Blades based on what you said earlier.
I do.
But my issue with my issue with Flawless Blades in this particular detachment is they don't actually benefit that much from the detachment rule. Because the detachment rule gives them +1 strength on your attacks, but the Flawless Blades ability means that you wound anything in the game on 3s, so you don't really benefit that much from it. You basically just get the AP.
I would drop down to 1 unit, like a 3 unit of Flawless Blades, but I personally want at least 1 unit of Flawless Blades. I like maneuvering them, and I think they hit so hard.
I do
it's
like
hard
them. Yeah. I think
for me to just be like, I would get rid of them, you know?
I think from the times that I've tested them, the issue I've always found with them is it's quite hard to deliver them, if that makes sense. If you end up running into any opposing armies that have melee stuff, you kind of have to hide them quite well. Because if they hit you first, you kind of just fall over because you're not that durable. They are 3 wounds each, but they've got a 3-up armor save.
Yeah, I think they're good for I would legitimately sit them behind a wall until my opponent got too close to an objective that was close to that wall, and then I'd pop them out specifically to take those dudes out. Like, I think they could work in that way. I like them. I think they hit real hard. The Demonic Patrons is a really cool rule that is just so weird and so wild, that maybe it's a weird thing to hold on to for 110 points, but I do like them. Unless you're like, oh well, you would get 130 points back, and then you could take a third Mauler Fiend.
Wow.
Wait a second.
Wait, how many points do you have left right now?
I just hit 2K.
Well, is it exactly 2K?
3 Mauler Fiends and a Helldrake is a wild thing to put on the table.
It is. I mean, I know you're not a fan of it. You could start one of the Mauler Fiends in reserves and then bring it in like near your opponent's army and go, deal with this.
Yeah, yeah. Fulgrim could whistle for him.
I'm just thinking what else you'd need. Scroll up for a second. So are you exactly 2,000 points?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay.
I
Honestly,
love hitting exactly 2K.
it is very satisfying. Honestly, it's quite hard to do that in Emperor's Children because everything's sort of between 70 and 90 points with the like small stuff. So
Yeah.
they're kind of weird numbers at times. A small trick for you actually, if you play this, you know how Lucius can leave flawless blades. That's
Yeah.
something you don't have to decide until you see what your opponent is playing.
Well, I mean, like, I genuinely can't come up with a reason why I would have him do that and give up the fight's first ability
So
because,
the reason,
yeah,
the scenario where you would do this is into stuff like knights, because you know that ability Lucius has for the rerolls against what is it, walkers, characters, and monsters or something.
character, monster, and walker units. Yeah.
Yes, that applies to the unit he's part of. So if he's attached to Flawless Blades, he gives that rerolls to the Flawless Blades.
Oh, that is nice. Okay.
So basically, if you are against an army where you need those rerolls on the Flawless Blades to kill stuff, you can attach him once you know what your opponent is playing. You don't have to do it here where you're building the army list. But if it's not
Now,
a good...
I do. Oh, sorry.
There you go.
I have a question. So, say that I roll up and I happen to have this 2K army, but I also happen to have a detachment of, you know, flawless blades hanging out in my box. Could I swap out a Mauler Fiend for the flawless blades if I see I'm playing knights?
Not quite the same, no. So essentially, this
Okay.
is the thing to do with the way leaders work in 10th edition. Anything that's a leader, it goes in your army list. So the stuff that's in your army list is always the same. But leaders can attach to stuff, but you declare that at the start of the battle. You say to your opponent, "I'm going to attach this to this."
That's what I mean is that if I roll, so say I roll up to my LGS and I'm at the table and I see that the dude is playing Imperial Knights and I
Yes.
happen to have brought my entire Imperial or my entire Emperor's Children army. And before we start the battle, with a little chat with them, be like, hey, I see you're playing Knights. Do you mind if I swap out my Mauler Fiend for one unit of Flawless Blades? It will actually drop me down 20 points overall. Is that okay with you?
So
Is that a thing I could do?
At like a tournament, no. If it's like a casual game and you're talking to your opponent and you're saying, "Can I do this to make it like a more fair matchup?" and they say yes, oh yeah, no one's gonna stop you from doing that. I'm just talking about like the technicality of the leader thing, because the leader thing at like a tournament level
You have to declare.
is a thing that you can do, and you can change that one on the fly without breaking any rules, because that's just how leaders work.
Okay.
It's the same with the Rhino, for example. Putting stuff in transports is something you can decide on a game by game basis. So one game you might decide to put Noise Marines in it. Another game you might put the Scout guys in it, depending on the matchup, and that will change game by game depending on what you're against.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean this. Cool. I mean, Helldrake memes aside, because the Helldrake is funny. That could potentially, like, if you wanted to make it like a slightly more competitive one, you could swap the Helldrake for like, I don't know. It's a weird number of points actually. It's 195.
Yeah.
How much is
I could bring another detachment of Noise Marines and then add in some.
Yeah. The issue is this. The issue is I don't think there's anything that's 50 points. So you're going to have like 30 points left over if you do that.
Well, that's what I was thinking enhancements wise, because we don't have any enhancements.
Yes, but I think all the enhancements are about 10 to 15 points, so you still have 30 left after the enhancement, because Noise Marine Squad is 50 less than the Helldrake. And the enhancements are like 15, 25 points, yeah. How much is a regular Demon Prince? 180. You could, if you wanted to, swap the Helldrake for a Demon Prince on foot. Because what the Demon Prince on foot does is he has an aura of +1 to AP of attacks near him. And what that means is, in this detachment, when stuff that's near him is in combat, it will be +2 AP. So those infractors that are hitting your opponent's Space Marines, for example, will go from AP1 to AP3 when they charge, if they're near the Demon Prince.
Ooh, interesting.
So they're quite fun. There is also an enhancement that's specific to the Demon Prince of Slaanesh. So if you click on the Demon Prince, I think there's an enhancement that you can only put on the foot Demon Prince.
Enhancement.
Enhancements. Yeah, Spirit
Spirit
Slower.
Silver?
I don't think we had the points for it, but that it is an enhancement that only goes on this model.
It would be 20 points. No, we'd be 5 points away.
Oh.
And I don't think anyone else has an enhancement.
Yeah, that's gonna be awkward to fit in. That's fine. You could, if you wanted to, throw the 15-point enhancement on either of the Demon Princes if you did that and took the Helldrake out.
Yeah.
That's like an okay swap to do because points wise it works out quite well.
Is there a way to like?
You could duplicate the list and have two of it and go, this is the one with the Helldrake and this is the one without the Helldrake.
Fulgrim walks his dogs, but meta.
I wouldn't even call it meta. It's just no Helldrake.
Just no. Well, yeah, no Helldrake. So and then we go Demon Princess Slaanesh on foot, which that's a cool model. I would paint 2 of those, TBH, and then Soulstain made Manifest.
That's the one that we just had the points for. The one you'd want on it ideally would be Spirit Silver or Spirit Sliver.
Yeah,
but that one's 5 points too many, so you'd have to do some other swapping around to do that. I suppose what you could do if you wanted to fit in the good enhancement is you could swap.
Get rid of.
You could swap 1 Tormentor squad for a Chaos Spawn squad, which is 70 points.
Oh, I was gonna say Lord Exultant.
No, I would go with the Spawn here because you just want some cheap units. They're 70, and then that would let you put the 20-point enhancement on it, and you're at 1990, so you're 10 points short, which is fine. That's not the end of the world. I know it's not the satisfying 2000, but Chaos Spawn are pretty fast moving. They hurt decently well, and when your opponent moves near them, they can reactive move away from your opponent, so you can be really annoying with them. Put them in the middle. Your opponent moves towards them, and they run away.
The reason I kind of shied away, I think, from having a Demon Prince, which thinking on it now, like Demon Prince versus Helldrake here, not a huge difference in terms of like big character units. Because when I started building this, I had that's one of the issues I think my Blueberry Murder Boys has, is that it's so many characters on top of epic heroes. There's barely any infantry. We've got like 3 vehicles. Our Outrider squad, like there's a lot going on here about big units, which might work really well for the Blueberries, but it felt weird for the Emperor's Children. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, there's not tons of characters here, thankfully. You've only got the 3. So I guess one other fun thing about the Foot Demon Prince is it has lone operative so long as it's within 3 inches of another unit. So what some people sometimes do with it is you put it next to Lucius, who also has lone operative, and you just go, I have 2 guys, they're giving each other lone operative. You can't shoot them.
Love that.
Love that. But that's just a sort of, I guess, a vague outline of maybe where I would start with this kind of list, with your sort of 3 dogs theme going on. It took us.
Well, I really like it. I'm glad that we were able to keep the 3 Mauler Fiends in the end. Even if we did have to kind of get rid of my Flawless Blades, which I quite like, it still feels like a very playable list to me personally.
Oh yeah,
I think it's obviously playable, but playable for me.
I think the only other note that I didn't get to is there is weapon options on the Mauler Fiends.
Oh, okay.
So on the Mauler Fiends, you can either give them Lasher Tendrils, which are an extra melee weapon, or 2 Magma Cutters. So Magma Cutters are melter guns. For the most part, what I've seen online and like in events is that people tend to take the Magma Cutters because it's just some extra anti-tank punch, which might help you with your Knights problem. Whereas the Lasher Tendrils are just some extra sort of small attacks that can kill small infantry. But generally speaking, you probably don't want to throw a Mauler Fiend into an infantry squad that's that small. You'd rather throw it at like a tank or something. The other downside is, I don't know if you've seen the model for the Mauler Fiend, but the Lasher Tendrils actually make the model a lot wider because they sort of stick out the sides quite a bit. which makes it quite hard to navigate around buildings sometimes with the lasher tendrils.
Yeah, he does look. Huh.
Yeah, you're looking at the
Yeah,
picture of the tendrils. Yeah, so
I'm looking at him.
yeah, so when you build them, you can build them with those, or you can build them with like a sort of middle arm that sticks down that is sort of has a melter on it, which is a lot smaller. So from like a trying to get around buildings perspective, it does make it easier to navigate them a little bit.
They do look really cool.
They look cool
Dang.
anyway, yeah. decisions,
I don't know.
decisions.
I think 2 with magma cutters and then having 1 with lasher tendrils because I do like having a little bit of that melee available would work.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess a last thing to mention would be there's a concept people talk about called WYSIWYG a lot, which is the concept of what you see is what you get, which is if you're this is the thing people used to do as rules at like tournaments and stuff is like you only get the weapons that are on the models. But generally speaking, people
oh,
aren't that strict with that nowadays. Generally, if everything you have is identifiable as different, then you should be fine.
mhm.
Like for example, I've had scenarios where I've like had 3 tanks, for example, and I've said to my opponent, "I'm running this as the other gun option, but they're all doing it, so it doesn't matter what they look like." If that makes sense. Uh,
Yes.
so long as it's not
I
confusing for the opponent, essentially.
Well, so, like, when I was building my Necrons come with an option for the A gun or B gun.
Yeah,
They have a name, I don't remember it. Um, and one of them's, like, Gauss.
it's like
And
Gauss
so I
flare
built
or
half
something.
of
Yeah,
them Yeah, I built half of them with the first gun and half of them with the second gun just because that seemed like the fun thing to do.
yeah,
Um, and I just kind of assumed that if I walked up and was like, "They all have the A gun, please ignore that they seem to have the B gun."
yeah.
If somebody's gonna have a problem with that, like, I'm telling them the stats, like, it's not a big deal to me, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. The only time I would say there's actually a genuine problem there is if you say I have 3 squads of these, and I say 2 of them are one weapon and one of them is a different weapon, but they're all modeled differently, then it might get confusing. But if
Yeah.
you just say all of them are the Gauss Flare, no one's gonna care. And in fact, for most like especially with Xenos factions, people aren't gonna know what they look like anyway.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I don't know, like, I'm of the mind that if somebody, like, rolled up with an Imperial Guard army and they were all made from bolt action figures, if that's I think that's the name of it, but they had the right
Mm.
bases, I'd be like, "Let's go, brother. They're dudes." Like, I don't think I'd care that much.
Yeah, there's like
As long as we're rolling the right numbers,
There-
you
There's,
know?
there's like scenarios in like tournaments where it might matter that to know which ones like have a plasma gun, so you know which ones to kill when they
Yeah.
explode themselves inevitably.
I think I would just ask them to put, like, a dice on it or mark it some way. Um
I mean, in the past I've been really lazy about it. I've had scenarios where I didn't have I was testing stuff with friends and they weren't fully built yet, so
Mhm.
I like put some blue tack on a base of a model and said this one has the big gun.
Yeah. Like, that makes total sense to me, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I
Uh,
think, like, if I were to go to a tournament, I would I'm the type of person painting-wise that I would love to paint everything to be exactly correct based on my list, that wouldn't bother me at all. Um, it just it is different if, I had built a Demon Prince of Slaanesh and wanted a Demon Prince of Slaanesh with wings. That's one where it's like, that's a really big model to buy and paint, so that might be the exception. But if I was like, one of these infractors has an icon of excess, it happens to be this specific infractor, I would just put blue tack on it and be like, please, please just understand that this guy has the icon of excess. I
yeah.
forgot to put it on him or, whatever. Um,
There's like a small scenario with like the Demon Prince one that like if you had a non-winged Demon Prince and said it was the winged one, that might get weird because where the wings are so big,
yeah,
usually
they
you'd be
take
able
up
to see
space.
it. Yeah, so like there's like people use the term modeling for advantage, which most people don't do. Um, but like generally, as long as your model is bigger than it should be, then it's not a problem. But if it's way smaller than it should be, then it might be a problem. If that makes sense.
That makes
Um,
sense, yes, because of line of sight and everything.
Yeah. But again, that's like minutia. That's whatever. Hopefully this was.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably stop recording in a minute because I need to get going. But hopefully this was
Yeah, yeah.
enjoyable.
I had a great time. I'm sorry I got so off topic, but yeah, like I can't state enough that I'm literally a professional yapper and I do this 25 hours a week where all I do is just talk about the most random Warhammer related stuff I can. So I have a lot of thoughts about all of it and it's really fun to talk to people about.
Yeah.
I hope I get to talk to more people about it in this kind of form eventually because I just kind of love it. I kind of love everything about it. I haven't found a part of the hobby like doing wise that I don't like yet. Because I've enjoyed painting and building and list building and like I think after this I might start working on my sister's a battle 2K list just off stream for fun.
Yeah.
um so
Okay.
I really like it. So
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time to walk me through this. I know that I am very new, so there's a lot that I'm trying to learn.
I mean, there was definitely
So I
questions
really
at
appreciate it.
there's definitely questions at points where I was like probing to see what you did and didn't know without trying to be mean or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. It felt very welcoming. I really appreciate it. This is the sort of thing I would do again. I do still
Yeah.
want to convince you to read Horus Rising. I would do that.
I may be
I'd
tempted.
spend an hour talking about how great that book is.
Okay, well, maybe I should read Horus Rising and then we can have a discussion at some point on the book.
It's such a good book. I don't know. I don't think I people should care about space. I'm not like I feel like people should care about Space Marines, but I do think there is there is something really cool about 30K that I've been finding,
Mm,
where it's a bunch of people who seem to really love the setting, trying to tell really cool and interesting stories from a number of different perspectives. And as a
yeah.
writer, that is really interesting to me. Um, so anyway, thank you again, Astra, for having me on. I had the best time. I hope that
Woo.
this is usable footage.
I'll have to crop out the
So
bit in the middle where you went to the bathroom. It's fine.
yeah,
But yeah, no, it'd be awesome to
but
do this again at some point. If you ever like just want to poke me and be like, "Hey, let's talk about a list again," or like you want to play a game on stream on TTS or something, we can do that if you want.
that would be so fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Well,
I guess
very
for anyone from my channel, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Gremlin May on all socials. You can find me streaming at 12 p.m. CST every Wednesday through Sunday. Uh, Twitch.tv/Gremlin May. I'm also on YouTube. As I mentioned earlier, I do book reviews on the Horus Heresy series. Right now, I am painting a miniature for every book that I read. I am also reading some short stories. I'm hoping to read The Ancient Awaits and paint Rylanor for that one soon. But right now, I'm working on Flight of the Eisenstein and a Saul Tarvitz mini. I usually do about 2 book reviews a month is what I aim for. So if you are interested in both 30K and 40K books, I have the Eisenhorn Omnibus coming up. I'm reading
Ooh,
lots and lots of different things in it, so don't worry, I'm not just reading the 30K books. But I am a variety VTuber. I know that the accusation right now is that I'm not a variety VTuber. I promise I am. I'm playing RimWorld this week. I play other
woohoo!
video games. I have ADHD and I get pretty hyper focused and hyper fixated on stuff and I really can't say enough how much of the time of my life I'm having right now. It's just been so
Yeah,
fun. Um, and it all started with a single bricky video. So shout out to him. So yeah.
yeah. Right. Well, if we, I don't know do you want to do this as a YouTube collab video and meet so they can click below to see your link if that's the case? I don't know. That's
Yeah,
up to you.
absolutely. We can
All
do
right.
that.
Okay, so
Yep.
if we're doing that, you can find May's channel down below as well as the social issues we've mentioned, and similarly, you can see my stuff down below. So thank you, May, for coming on, and we'll,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
we'll see you all next time.